Welcome to Bedtime Stories channel. I'm Emma, and today we bring you the animated version of Cinderella. If you enjoy our stories, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more magical tales. Are you ready to dive into the magic? Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, there lived a beautiful young girl. She was known throughout the land for her kindness and grace. However, despite her inner goodness, Cinderella's life was far from easy. After her beloved mother passed away, her father remarried a woman who was cruel and unkind, and Cinderella was forced to live in a small, dusty attic in their large house. Her stepmother, Lady Tremaine, was a woman with a heart as cold as ice. She never showed Cinderella any kindness and always found ways to make her life more miserable. Each day, she would assign Cinderella endless chores, making sure to remind her that she was nothing more than a servant in her own home.
Cinderella, have you finished scrubbing the floors? They must be spotless,
Lady Tremaine said.
Yes, Mother, I'm almost done,
Cinderella responded. The stepmother had two daughters, Anastasia and Drizella, who were just as unkind as her. The three of them made Cinderella's life a misery. Every day they would give her more work to do. She was always the one who cleaned the house, cook the meals, and take care of all the animals, including the cat Lucifer, who was a constant reminder of how little they cared for her.
Mother, I need my dress ironed immediately,
Anastasia said.
and my shoes polished. Cinderella, hurry up.
Drizella exclaimed.
Of course. I'll do it right away.
Cinderella responded. But Cinderella did not mind the work. She loved the little animals around her, particularly two mice named Gus and Jack. These two adorable creatures were her closest friends, and they would often help her with her chores, even though they were small and couldn't do much. They kept her company and gave her hope that one day things might change. While Cinderella worked tirelessly, her stepsisters would enjoy their time, laughing and making fun of her. They would go out to town, wearing their fine gowns and jewelry, while Cinderella stayed at home, covered in ashes from the fireplace. One day, a royal invitation arrived. The king and queen were hosting a grand ball at the palace, and they invited all the young ladies of the kingdom to attend. The royal family wanted to find a bride for their son, the prince. When Lady Tremaine heard the news, she immediately saw an opportunity for her own daughters to catch the prince's eye.
A royal ball. What a wonderful opportunity for my daughters to meet the prince.
Oh, Mother, he will surely choose me.
The first sister exclaimed.
No, me.
The second retorted. She instructed Cinderella to sew two beautiful gowns for her stepsisters so that they could be the most elegant women at the ball. She worked day and night to make the dresses for her stepsisters. They were beautiful gowns, but when they were ready, the stepsisters only mocked Cinderella for her efforts.
May I go to the ball as well, stepmother?
You go to the ball. Laughs well, I suppose, but only if you finish all your chores, and you must find something suitable to wear.
When Cinderella heard her stepmother's words that she would allow her to go to the ball, she was overjoyed. But then, she remembered that she didn't have a beautiful dress to wear. Her only hope was to find something in her mother's trunk. She searched through the attic and found her mother's old gown. It was simple, but Cinderella believed she could make it work. Meanwhile, Gus and Jack, along with the birds, had gathered around and decided to help Cinderella. They worked together to transform her mother's old dress into something beautiful. They found beads and ribbons discarded by the stepsisters and used them to decorate the dress. Cinderella could hardly believe her eyes when she saw the result. The dress was now lovely and elegant, perfect for the royal ball. After the two stepsisters were ready, it was finally Cinderella's turn. When her wicked stepmother saw her in the dress, she wasn't pleased. She decided to do everything she could to prevent Cinderella from going to the ball. She told the little girl that she had poured a bowl of grains into the ashes, and Cinderella would have to collect them before she could leave. Just then, when the two stepsisters saw her in the beautiful dress, they became furious. They ripped off the ribbons and beads, tearing the dress to shreds. Cinderella's heart broke as she watched them destroy the only thing that had given her hope.
This was all I had.
Cinderella whispered to herself, her voice breaking. Her tears fell, not just for the dress, but for the dreams that seemed to fade away with it. It seemed like all hope was lost. With a heavy heart, Cinderella trudged to the fireplace, each step feeling heavier than the last. She knew she would never be allowed to go to the ball, not with her dress ruined and no way to fix it. Devastated, Cinderella collected the grains from the ashes, her hands trembling. Tears began to fall down her face, for in that moment, she knew her dream of attending the ball was slipping away. At that moment, the fairy godmother appeared. She asked Cinderella why she was crying, and Cinderella explained her sorrow. The fairy godmother then called upon the birds to separate the grains for her. Once the work was done, the godmother told Cinderella to bring a pumpkin from the yard. After Cinderella carried out the task, the fairy godmother turned the pumpkin into a carriage and the two mice, Gus and Jack, into horses. Cinderella was overjoyed, but once again felt sad because she had no dress for the ball.
Why are you sad, my dear?
I just wanted to go to the ball, but the two sisters tore my dress apart.
Well, dry your tears, child. With a little magic, your dreams can come true.
Then the fairy waved her magic wand over the girl, transforming her into a beautiful princess with a sparkling gown and lovely glass slippers. The fairy then told Cinderella that the carriage would take her to the palace, but she must return. By midnight, as at 12, the magic would wear off. Then the fairy godmother warned Cinderella.
Remember, my child, the magic will wear off at midnight. You must return before the clock strikes 12.
Cinderella promised she would return on time and left for the ball. When she arrived at the palace, she was in awe of the grandeur. The ballroom was filled with people, and everyone seemed to be eagerly awaiting the arrival of the prince. But when Cinderella entered the room, all eyes turned to her. She looked more beautiful than anyone had ever seen. The prince, who had been waiting for a lady who could capture his heart, was immediately drawn to Cinderella. He approached and bowed.
Would you honor me with a dance?
I would love to.
Cinderella, with a smile on her face, accepted. As they danced together, the entire ballroom was enchanted by their chemistry. The prince couldn't take his eyes off her, and Cinderella felt like she had never been so happy. As the evening wore on, Cinderella and the prince became more and more captivated by each other. But as the night passed, the clock began to tick closer to midnight. Cinderella suddenly remembered the warning of the fairy godmother. In a panic, she looked up at the clock and realized that it was almost time for the magic to end.
Oh no, I must go.
She cried out, rushing to the exit. The prince tried to stop her, but she was already running down the stairs.
Wait, I don't even know your name.
The prince exclaimed. As she did, one of her glass slippers slipped off her foot and was left behind on the stairs. Cinderella reached her carriage just in time, and the magic faded as soon as she climbed inside. The prince ran after her, but she had vanished, leaving only the glass slipper behind. The next day, the prince set out to find the owner of the slipper. He went from house to house, trying the slipper on every young lady in the kingdom. when the prince arrived at the house where Cinderella lived. Then she overheard that the prince was searching for the fairy tale girl from the previous night, the one he had danced with, and he knew he would find her by the glass slipper that had fallen. The wicked stepmother made both of her daughters try on the glass slipper.
It fits! It must fit!
No. Let me try again.
But one daughter's foot was too small, and the other's was too large. The prince was confused, as this was the last house on his list of guests from his ball. Then, one of his servants whispered to him that the wicked stepmother had one more daughter. Then the prince insisted that they call the stepdaughter. Lady Tremaine didn't want Cinderella to even touch the glass slipper, but she couldn't do anything about it once the prince ordered to bring the girl. When Cinderella tried, on the slipper it fit perfectly.
It is you, my princess.
He took her hand and smiled. The prince was astonished and knew that he had found his true love. He took Cinderella by the hand and promised to never let her go. Lady Tremaine and her daughters were furious, but it no longer mattered. The young girl was finally free from their cruelty. The prince and Cinderella were married in a grand ceremony and lived happily ever after in the palace. Cinderella never had to work again, and she and the prince shared many happy years together. And as for Gus and Jack, they became royalty too, living in the palace and enjoying all the comforts they could have ever imagined.